'em up, lay it down just like Matt Amari. Wrestling liver RHAPUp's gonna make it sorry. Feeling like The Rock cause I'm driving in Ferraris. And we coming every week and it's feeling like a party. Moolah Ric Flair, showing out like Bianca Belair, Best podcast, flush it in the air, Roman Reigns and we win it, don't care, No cap. Throw 'em up, lay it down just like Matt Amari. Wrestling liver RHAPUp's gonna make it sorry. Feeling like The Rock cause I'm driving in Ferraris. And we coming every week and it's feeling like a party.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Wrestling RHAPUp podcast. I'm your host, Mari Forth, and with me, as always, my tag team partner, Mr. Matt Scott. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mari. Thanks for asking. How are you doing today as we do the Wrestling RHAPUp? Is that what this podcast is, or is it Crime Scene? I can't keep up.
No, it's Wrestling RHAPUp. Crime Scene will be on together this coming up week. So
this isn't Pod Friends either.
No, definitely not Pod Friends. Even though I do want to I do want to be the person. This is I'm coming off the cuff here. I do want to be the person that gets to interview you for Pod Friends because
look.
I'm gonna let you finish. Job of kind of telling your personal stories while you're talking to your pod friends, but I think of a handy place where everybody could come to get to know Matt Scott would be like really cool.
We're gonna make it maybe a gauntlet match where it's like you come in first, then we have someone else come in, then they get eliminated, and then someone else comes in. Let's just mix it up. Let's do it wrestling style. That's what I'm all about. And then I leave with the championship.
More people get to come in and ask you questions.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I'll take it.
I
want to cover all of my bases so that I don't have to do it again.
Yeah. But yes, all of that aside, welcome back to the Wrestling RHAPUp podcast, where we are here to talk about the highlights of the week in wrestling. I think we have a fantabulous guest.
We do have a fantabulous guest. Yeah, we got it. And you know what? You know what I do, Mari. I do the intros. So
yes, you do.
Do you want to do the intro today? No, no. I'll do it. Making his way to the podcast, hailing from New York, you know him as a writer for ESPN, covering fantasy sports, a two-time published author, a father, a husband. You've seen him on RHAP, talking Survivor and archetypes, and he is the former Mr. Met. Please welcome the self-described elder statesman of RHAP, AJ Matt.
Can you smell what I'm cooking? Can you? I think something's burning in the kitchen. Hey, no, yeah. Hi guys, excited to be here.
Hi AJ. Yes, thank you for coming. We're so excited. First time guest on the Wrestling RHAPUp podcast. Long time coming. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about your experience in the wrestling world? What moves you when it comes to wrestling? What got you into it? All of that good stuff.
I'm the 3-time intercontinental champion. What are you talking about? No, I go way back. Way back. Back when I was 9 or 10 years old, which is in the 70s. Shut up. My father would buy me tickets to go see the WWF at Madison Square Garden for my birthday every year. So,
oh wow!
So we would go to MSG, your big adventure into the big city, and we would watch. Oh gosh, Pedro Morales and Ivan Putski and Tito Santana and Andre the Giant. And I through this, I was in the arena at MSG the night when Bob Backlund lost the title to the Iron Sheik, which he was champion for 7-8 years running. And Iron Sheik beat him. I was there. I saw it. And the next month, Hulk came in and beat the Sheik. I was not there for that, but that was the start of everything that happened. Turned the WWF into the WWF.
Right.
So, I've been a fan since way back in the day. I haven't watched in the last 30 years.
The last 30 years. Okay.
I think the last thing I saw was Undertaker at Survivor Series winning the title.
Debuting. winning the title.
When he won that was I think the last time Paul Bearer, Undertaker. But I haven't watched since then. But I know like I go way back.
I love that.
Yeah.
Actually, I really like that because it feels like a lot of our guests, like no shade to them, it's like we know but you know what I'm saying, like we all know that one time period where
the Attitude Era,
you know, everybody watched, and so we always get that same perspective. So it's very interesting to have somebody who was like deep into it before that and like not really experiencing the Attitude Era. Do you feel like you missed out a little bit?
No, like I said, I went to college with Brian Gewirtz, who was a writer for a long time. And he just released a book recently.
I love his book.
About his time. Yeah, it's good stuff. But like he would like I stopped watching, but he was writing for Edge and Christian. He was like pretty much wrote all their stuff.
I mean, he was writing for The Rock, like not to on top of also on top of that too.
Yeah, and he is actually still, because he left to work for The Rock production company, so he's still with The Rock. But
that's awesome.
You know, we go to Shea Stadium, watch the Mets play, and like someone would say something about Edge or Christian. He's like, "What, you don't like Christian?" He's like, "Get him on speed dial. Here, talk to Christian. This guy doesn't like you. Here you go." I mean, that's what he could do. But so I knew of the era, but I didn't necessarily watch. Although there was one night I was so upset because my wife and I were actually out of town, and he actually got a whole bunch of my friends together to be on Raw promos. In the show and do skits for the night. And so we had a friend, one of my friends, Cool Rob, who was like limo driver for Kurt Angle in this routine. And they loved him so much, they offered him to stay on. They wanted to stay on. And he said, "Nah, not my thing." And we were just like,
my God.
He's in a limo with Kurt Angle, like doing this comedy routine, and they loved him. But yeah, I could go on for hours. Wow. But yeah, but that's so I knew of that era, but I didn't really watch it during that time.
This is amazing. I'm so excited. I feel like I'm going to learn a few things this week. So
just a few. I love it. I love the stories. Like MSG, Madison Square Garden. First of all, most of us are addicted to MSG and our food, but also addicted to Madison Square Garden and being there. And like, that's so quintessential wrestling too. And what so many people associate with it, especially outside of the super fandom. So it's an honor to have you here. You go to MSG and you go to the Wrestling RHAPup next, and that's what it's all about.
That's it. I go from watching Andre the Giant slam Big John Studd to watching Matt and Maurice.
Yeah.
Same thing.
That's hilarious. My gosh. Let's breeze through just a little bit of news so we can get to the highlights of the week. WWE has some big announcements this week for like live events. We got the King and Queen of the Ring announcement. So in May 27th in Saudi Arabia. We knew they had to go back. Yeah, they had to go back. So yeah, they announced King and Queen of the Ring. So you know, we're not a big fan of where it's happening. However, I am excited that it's back. I'm glad that King and Queen of the Ring is back. It always feels like it gives people something to aspire to. You know, Queen Zelina and King Xavier they had some good runs at the beginning of it, and then it kind of just dropped off. So I'm just glad that it's back, you know.
Well, it's always had the ebbs and flows, to your point, which is funny because like, I mean, they in the 20 years or 25 years of like my wrestling fandom personally, the number of times it's been King of the Ring, like it was a pay-per-view at one point 20 years ago, and then it became a thing that they did on Raw, and then it became a thing that somehow I think William Regal was king for multiple years because they didn't do the tournament again, and then they just brought it back, AJ, like a year and a half or so ago, and had Zelina Vega and Xavier Woods winning.
Because remember, Corbin won King of the Ring, and so like it was that same thing where it was kind of like they didn't keep having it going, so he was king for a while and all of that. Exactly. But I'm sorry, keep going.
No, that's exactly it. And it's just like they're so inconsistent with it, but it is always an interesting gimmick to come back. AJ, like I'm curious, did they have King? Well, okay, now I feel like I'm like back in your day. Did they have King of the Ring?
No, they didn't. They didn't have King of the Ring. But when Harley Race came over from NWA, he was King Harley Race, and the whole thing was he did the whole thing with the royalty and everything. He was just the king, and it wasn't until he was defeated that they thought of the gimmick. Well, the king is dead. We need a new king. So it was like King Haku for a while. One of the Samoans at the time.
Yeah.
King Haku, which was just so stupid because, you get this guy who's used to wrestling, without, he doesn't wear any accoutrements. He just comes through and he's Samoan, and now he's got to wear the crown and the cape and the scepter. And it's like, this is comical. But it was the cartoonery of
it all. Yeah.
Back then, everyone was a cartoon back then. So I kind of like the fact that King Harley Race, it's still going on, just in a different form. Although when you have like Xavier and Zelina, like it sounds like you started at A and now you're at the end of the alphabet, so maybe it's run its course.
I know, right? I did like Xavier winning though, because the biggest thing is he kept talking about how his childhood dream was the King of the Ring, so he kind of made it feel important again. And then Queen Zelina, like her winning was very out of we were shocked when she won.
Yeah.
But I thought she did well. Matt loved her queen gimmick where she
she's from Queens, Queen from Queens, but she was doing like the British accent, mixing it. The Queen, I'm not gonna, funny. But the Queen Zelina from Brooklyn, like that's what it was all giving. And like I'm actually
not
missing
over
it now. She's with Legado del Fantasma, who we saw also this week too.
We'll talk about
we need her going back to being the queen, so maybe she'll capture.
He loved the accent, so it worked a little bit. So I'm excited too. And then we also got the announcement that Backlash will be on May 6th, and it's going to be in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and it's going to be hosted by Bad Bunny. Like, I'm excited about that. Like, that's going to be fun. Backlash has always kind of been the little brother in the shadow of WrestleMania. Like, it kind of gets the scraps here or there. Think of Backlash 2000. Like, it might get breaking off a little bit of some, but then not too often. So I just think having a different location is definitely going to bring more fun to it. Bad Bunny is so amazing. Oh my God. I loved him in the wrestling ring, love him as an artist, all of that. And then getting in front of a new crowd, I love when WWE goes global and international, because the crowds are hot. We talked about it. The Canadian crowd in Toronto was really hot for the Elimination Chamber. Puerto Rican audience, I can just only imagine how great that's going to be. And all of the blood money stuff aside, we've said it before, the Saudi Arabian audience has been very good recently at like the events and stuff. Like it's been a real treat. So again, London audiences, all that stuff. So it's just so really cool to see WWE go outside of the US and get more feedback and hear more chants and stuff from different audiences. So I'm so excited about this. Any thoughts on live events, AJ, going a little international?
I think this is the one thing they've always done right. Back in the day, just a lot of the characters were perhaps not in the best of taste, stereotypes. Do I have to talk about Kamala? But
no,
not at all.
But they always reached out to try and get an international audience. We had like 7 channels when I was watching the show, and it would show up on Saturday and Sunday mornings on WOR, and that you'd watch it. But they always had a version on Telemundo. Where they did the matches were regular. They had Spanish-speaking announcers, the birth of the Spanish language table, and they had a host. His name was Hugo, and I watched it because I love wrestling at the time. Hugo was great because he'd do the interviews in Spanish and he'd translate what the non-Spanish-speaking wrestlers would say to the audience. And if they were, if they happened to be Spanish-speaking, great. They just went off, and then he would translate for us. But he always go, I don't speak Spanish. Pardon the gibberish, and hello to our American-speaking friends.
And I feel like He was around for so long. Like I'm looking this up. I guess they're not, it's so wild. Hugo, I'm probably messing this up, but Savinovich or so.
I don't even remember.
That was the Spanish announce team, and I remember his name. I feel like I don't know if he still appears at all on the shows, but like he's definitely he was a staple, it sounds like, for a while. And and we'll still get some of the announce teams and tables once in a while at some of the premium live events, pay-per-view type of stuff. So yeah.
But yeah, it's great to have the international audience brought in.
Exactly.
One particular one is a little too male for my preference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you watch enough, you start to like, especially the like Spanish announce team, you kind of get used to like Carlos,
Carlos Cabrera, I want to say.
Yeah, exactly. That's so it's just really funny how it just goes to show you that wrestling can transcend languages. That's how it's easy for us. Yeah, you were right, Carlos Cabrera. It's easy for us to watch, Joshi wrestling and Japanese wrestling, and of course they do accommodate for American audiences and stuff too. But if you think about it, when you go to a show live, you don't hear commentary, so you don't need to necessarily understand the language to get what's going in the ring if everybody's doing their job. If the story's told properly, if the wrestling is on point, all that, you don't really need it. So I love how this sport does tend to bring us all together in its ways, when it's not actively dividing us, but yeah,
big caveat.
Big caveat. Yeah. So just a few live event announcements. Very good for all of the audience that now will get to experience those live events and get to build these memories that like AJ got to experience, because it only comes to them like once in a blue moon. I know I've talked about it on this podcast before, but when I lived in Hawaii, that was my some of my peak wrestling fandom time, and I never got to see a live event growing up because they barely ever came over to Hawaii. I only remember them coming over twice the whole 6 years I was there, and it was right before we left. So never being able to experience it live until trying to think what my first live wrestling event was. I can't think about it right now. I'll circle back, but like not being able to experience it until I was like well into basically adulthood is something that I'll never get back. So I do think it's important to reach out to as many fans as possible, and not just think about your own little bubble.
Yeah, and just to like throw in another piece of this that's very different, because I know that WWE does not go to Hawaii often, but even when you're other places around the world, like I remember there was a stretch of time in my life, like 2015, where I happened to be in Toronto, and I was taking a solo trip in Toronto, and WWE was there, and I went to that, and it was so weird to be in a place where I like knew very few people, and I'm like, oh yeah, there are all these wrestlers who I feel like I know. Or like I was in Australia for work once, the one and only time I've been there, but like they literally were in Perth, Australia, the most remote part of the world, while I was there. I didn't go to see them. I should have. I took that for granted, but like it's nice to have that familiarity of like, oh, like that's the thing I know and I love, and it translates to all these different cultures, to your point.
Exactly. All right, so that's it for the news. Remember, if you haven't already, please go subscribe to the Wrestling RHAPUp podcast. You can go to robhasawebsite.com/wrestling feed to rate, review, and subscribe. Doing that really helps us. So please go do that if you haven't already. If you leave us a review, we'll read your reviews on the podcast. And of course, just support. All right, we're going to take a quick ad break, and we'll be back with the highlights of the week. Okay.
What a break.
We're back. I know. We're back with the highlights of the week in wrestling. Of course, all of the highlights can be found in a very handy playlist that's in either the show notes or show descriptions if you're watching us on YouTube, our pretty faces at the Rob Has a Podcast YouTube.
Yeah.
Or if you're listening to us in our podcast feed, you can watch along, watch the highlights along with us, or, just listen. It's fine. It's whatever you want to do. But
Whatever you want. Yeah. But, our beautiful faces are definitely worth looking at. And of course, we pull up pictures along the way for the visual learners. It's for you.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Yeah. So we we got to get into John Cena making his return to the Boston audience this week. It was a lot of confirmational making of matches this week, It was very funny. I kept we've kind of known the plan for this WrestleMania for a while, and it was funny to be like, oh yeah, they're like officially making that match now,
Yeah.
So John Cena comes out and cuts a very scathing promo Austin Theory. I thought this was very, very interesting. There was a lot of internet discourse about how people felt that John Cena talked to Austin Theory. I'll start with you, Matt. What did you think?
Oh, no. Okay. Well, I had very strong feelings about this. And I'm always mindful when I have really strong or potentially negative feelings about something that maybe I say come back to it and watch it again later. But this, I tried that and it did not work out because this went on. Number one, the segment itself was about 14 minutes, or at least the clip on YouTube is 14 minutes. So it was a pretty long one. And it was mostly John Cena talking. John Cena returns again, wearing a hat to cover his bald spot. No offense to people with bald spots or to hats. I love hats. I love bald spots. But that, you don't have to take your hat off, AJ. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. But so Theory comes out and challenges Cena, and Cena's like, nope, you're not worth it. You're not deserving. You're not good enough. And he basically, in 10,000 different ways, Mari, says why Theory isn't deserving. And I'll just get to it now. Then Cena says, hey, Boston, should I say yes to this match? They have the most lukewarm response. He asks them to say it again. And it's like, sir, you buried your opponent for however many minutes and you expect people to care when you just talked about why nobody cares. This actually got me fired up because I thought it was kind of a bad promo by Cena and it didn't actually build excitement for the match at all. That's the bathroom break match because of what John Cena said, if you believe him. So that's my take on this one. But
AJ?
Okay. Full disclosure. I don't know any of these wrestlers. I don't know anything about it. I was Cena, obviously I know.
Oh, okay, good.
I can't see you. Yeah. No, but most of the other wrestlers in this that we saw this week, this is my first exposure to them.
That's fine. Yeah.
It started with Austin basically, mocking Cena. I found Austin Theory to have no charisma, and he was bored me to tears. I'm like, who is this loser? I just didn't get anything from him, and maybe it's because I read afterwards that this was not scripted. They just let John roll with it and do what he wanted.
That makes sense.
Because they trust John to do it. He's been doing it forever, but I think Austin probably needed some help. Yeah, I just found the whole thing. It felt so derivative of the old days. I've seen this so many times where it's it's Hulk Hogan, doing the thing, hand to the ear. It's like, I'm an old man. I can't hear you. What did you say? Did you say yes? It's like, okay. Boring. It didn't grab my attention at all. And so I think that probably echoes what Matt was saying. This is not anything that anyone felt excited about. I'm glad that it wasn't just me jumping in way too long. I was like, where's the wrestling? This is the first clip you showed me. I'm like, I thought I was here to see wrestling. What is this?
I truly, truly love that you have such an extensive wrestling knowledge, but no knowledge of the characters. That, I love that. I love getting perspectives like that because it's worth a lot. You know what I'm saying? It truly is worth a lot. And I love that you said I'm a hater. I'm a hater when it comes to Austin Theory. I completely agree.
Sure.
He does absolutely nothing for me. And
sure.
The sad fact is I agreed with everything that John Cena said. So I don't think he should have said it.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Thank you.
Like Matt said, like Matt said, Cena, like, he took that golden shovel, he acknowledged it, and he said, I'm gonna do it to you, you know? And as I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, he doesn't deserve this match. We all knew it was coming. We don't want to see John Cena laying up at the lights because he's passing the torch to this dude that he's not ready for this. And I was like, I agree with all of this. I'm like, this doesn't seem that fair to Austin Theory. But again, I will never be on his side. It doesn't matter. I don't care.
Yeah.
But like, exactly. Like there was kind of just no redeeming for this. I think John could have gotten to an edge, but stopped. Like, he definitely should have never said the part where he said, if we have this match and I beat you, you're done. If we have this match and you win and you beat me, you're still done. No one cares. Like, that he should have left in the chamber. Like, that should have been something I thought of. You should not have said that on free TV and then had that thought to everybody, because I was already thinking it, but there might have been people who weren't already thinking that. You know, so I think everything up until that, like, was just kind of echoing some fan sentiments of him not being ready, him being pushed, him thinking he's the new golden boy, like stuff like that. Him not being ready, I think, is okay, because we've gotten those type of promos before. We're kind of currently getting that with Charlotte, right? Charlotte and Rhea. Yeah. But the simple fact of already telling the opponent and telling the audience that the outcome of the match doesn't matter is something that should have absolutely never left his mouth. I feel like.
Yeah, Mari, let me just jump in too, because like I feel like Sarah Carradine, the great co-host of Crime Scene right now, I feel like she has receipts oftentimes. So I was listening to this and I was like, oh my god, this man is saying what he's saying. So here's what some of the quotes I wrote down from Cena were. I'm not interested in your gift because you haven't earned the right to give it. I've been listening and don't care. Just like every single person here, we don't care about you. We don't care about you because we don't believe you, and we don't believe you because you don't believe you. And then he goes on to say, no one cares, and you're wasting our time. He really hit that point home. So good job, Cena. And then he says, I'd so much rather be bald than have them pipe in fake crowd noise because nobody cares. You really are a dumb son of a bitch. You're not ready. And it's like, sir, you literally just buried this guy. And the thing that I don't like about it most, because Mari, there are the feelings, the fan perceptions outside of it all, you know, how we look at the art of wrestling. But, you know, my problem is that in character, Theory has consistently leveled up and gotten better, in the sense that a year ago, he hadn't had any championships. He did have Vince that guy backing him. But you know, he was just kind of getting his feet under him. He was much more of a goober. Now he's had the US. He's had the US. Yeah, he was like, there was the egg. It was weird. It was weird, AJ. Don't worry about it. But like, long story short, like, it just doesn't. None of what Cena said ties in with kayfabe, and so it just was uncomfortable to watch. And I think that Cena should. Like, I wish that he was better, but it's like, you come and say these things, you are a part-timer, you don't show up. I don't think John Cena deserves. I mean, like, what are you doing, sir? Like, you've accomplished what you've accomplished. You have your legacy, but like, you are not working day in and day out. And I just feel like, for me, it doesn't really square up, because John Cena has always been the hustle, loyalty, respect guy. But like, where's the hustle and where's the respect? I just think he doesn't like Austin Theory personally, but that's what it seems like. And then, you know, we'll talk about how he ended the promo, but like, I don't know. I just, not great.
Yeah, I just felt it was like, yes, it felt to me, again, not knowing the people, it felt he was speaking truth. It felt he was of two minds here. It was like, part of it is, you know, I don't need to be here. I'm John Cena. I have a career beyond this. So if you beat me, well, I'll just go back to making movies. Like, you know, I don't really need you guys. The other part was actually good structure of one of these build-ups, because, you know, Theory was saying how, you know, you're bald, you're old, you know, it's like, so in a way he was reflecting that back. Like, so, you know, so if I beat you, you lose because you've lost. And if you beat me, an old bald man, what does that prove? Nothing. Why do you need this match? Like, that's where he should have spun it. Like, playing to what you just told me is that I'm washed up. So what does beating a washed up old man do for you? Like, there was a germ of an idea there, but again, it needed a couple of rewrites.
Yeah, it didn't square up fully. It didn't fully come back because, again, like Matt said, it was also Austin offering a spot at the championship, which again, I think Matt put it perfectly, is outside of kayfabe. It doesn't make sense. Like Austin's been one of those heels, like the chicken shit ones that run away. Just only recently, since he gotten the USA belt, has he like tried to be more badass with his jacket and all of that, and try and be more ruthless aggression, like John Cena said, you're in your ruthless aggression era and stuff like that. And I kind of like the mirror stuff when he was talking about you're looking at a mirror, blah blah blah. I'm the ghost of Christmas future for you or whatever. But I think it needed if John Cena was able to go out there and they just gave it to him, they should not have put Austin in that role unless they thought that he could hang with him. But honestly, I wouldn't have put him in that role to begin with, even if I thought he could hang with them, because I thought it was very interesting that this happens right after they do the WWE rivalries thing, where they're talking about John Cena and The Rock. And I saw a clip from the infamous John Cena The Rock promo, where The Rock had written his promo on his wrist, and Cena kind of went off script and talked about that in their head-to-head promo, which of course inflamed The Rock. It got under The Rock's skin. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, and The Rock is The Rock, one of the greatest promo people ever. So if you let John Cena go out and do that to Austin Theory, it's not going to be good.
Well, Mari, just like, I love that you mentioned that you referenced that, because it's this idea of like punching up versus punching down. And in the case of The Rock, it felt like at the time that John Cena was punching up because it was The Rock. This definitely felt like punching down, and it was just uncomfortable. But and watching it didn't feel like the crowd was cheering or reacting in the way that you want them to. You want them to laugh. You want them to like, yeah, Cena, get him. But it was just like, ooh, stiff shot. Like, there was just a lot of really hard hits, and it looked like it hurt. I'm surprised that Theory wasn't there sobbing on the other end. So like, the fact that he could even finish that promo outside of the character, like, is notable, because I would be shooketh after all that from Cena. Like, do I just walk away? Are we still filming? Are they going to edit this out?
Talk about the end of it too, like how.
Okay. So the thing that this is my thing, and just like going off script, it is what it is. We talked about Cena asking the crowd for approval. They didn't seem very excited. And I was in particular not only listening to the crowd noise, but like, you see the crowd there. Then at the end, he does this thing that is like very outdated, where he's like, I question your brain, I question your heart, and then like he like taps him on the dick, basically, which I'm just like, they edited it out of the WWE clip on YouTube, but you see it in other clips where I'm just like, I think Austin Theory should probably call HR, because that's not amazing, but it's just like outdated. Like, it's so outdated. And this whole thing reminds me of these old timers who bury the young guys without like any consideration for actually helping them get further. So that's how I felt. But yeah, I didn't love like the genital contact that Cena made, the professional way of saying it.
AJ, how do you think Austin Theory can come back from this? Do you think he can come back from this?
Well, just to compound on that, Eddie, the whole point of these, when I watch wrestling, these guys will brawl at the drop of a hat. It doesn't take much to set any of these guys off if that's in the script for them to suddenly fight. If a man has that happen to him and doesn't immediately brawl,
right?
Like, why did he not attack him right then and there? I know, because it's not in the script, but like, it made him seem even weaker. He can't come back from that. Man just slapped him in the genitals and then went back for a second, and it's gotta get better. you can grow in that area. It's like, God, jeez.
It's like, what are you talking about?
Like him to just stand there in the ring and like, oh, mommy. Like, how can you come back from that? How can you legitimately come back from that? You know, we'll talk about some more confrontations where I was like, how can they not fight? But this one, he made physical contact with you. Come on, man.
Yeah, this really felt like he had to get him back in blood. Like, how are you? Like, I'm not even rooting for Austin Theory. But if you can't, I don't feel like you can just give us a regular match at WrestleMania after this. You know what I'm saying? Like Theory kind of needs to destroy him. Maybe the whole like, oh, if you win, it doesn't matter. If you lose, it doesn't matter thing comes down to like, okay, let's start this match. And then I'm going to get immediately disqualified. And then I'm just going to beat the bloody hell out of you for like 10 minutes. Like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
that.
Maybe that's how you get out of that booking decision, because and like let Cena bleed, like, because I just don't understand how you. I don't even like using the word bury. I talk about this on the podcast all the time because I feel like it gets thrown around like loosey goosey when just one minor thing is said bad about a performer. But this was a burial. This was truly, like they're lowering.
I saw the Undertaker in the background throwing dirt on us, and so it's not great. And I guess there's always maybe I don't know if it's ending, but kind of to throw this in as another note. Like there is the saying, all press is good press, and we are talking about it, and we will watch the match. So I mean, hopefully they do the right thing with the match and book it the right way where Cena doesn't come out looking amazing. It's just hard because they'll be in LA and Cena, those are his people. So are they really gonna have him look bad?
Are we gonna have a Hollywood screw job?
Yeah, Hollywood screw job.
This truly feels like it needs to be a squash match almost in a sense.
We'll see. But I mean, again, like I'm also not very interested in this match because I'm like, like maybe we don't care about Austin Theory. Maybe why?
Never have, never will.
Yeah, well, I mean, Cena said it, so maybe Cena's right, and maybe Cena's match is going to be the low point of WrestleMania because he's facing someone no one cares about. But
right. All right, let's move on to the women. The women. So we finally got some Bianca Belair this week. I know we talked about it a little bit, like where is Bianca? What is this what is going to be the build up to Bianca versus Asuka? So we got it oddly features Carmella and Chelsea Green. We did get a really funny backstage segment between Carmella and Chelsea Green. I don't care. I love it. Like
I love it.
It is ridiculous. It is so ridiculous. Chelsea Green is constantly wants to call somebody's manager, and it is the funniest thing in the world to me. I just love how Carmella's like, yeah, why not? And Carmella's still doing like halfway between like her original gimmick with like kind of trying to mix in some of her later gimmicks and stuff like that. She's still trying to like, I feel like, find her character, but them together was very funny to me. So Carmella is getting a match against Bianca, which of course is one of those matches where you go to the well because Carmella and Bianca have worked each other so many times over the past 2 years in the very least, and work very well together in like a type of showcase. So they put on a good match, The match clearly wasn't the attraction to all of this. Chelsea Green tried to help Carmella here, but she kept just getting beat up by Bianca. There was a lot a bit of John Cena booking here. Did we notice this?
What do you mean?
Well, it's basically 2-on-1, and Bianca is surviving all of these near falls, all of these roll ups. Like it's very, very John Cena booking.
Like super Cena, super Bianca.
Yeah, which I don't mind. It seemed like the crowd didn't mind either.
Yeah.
But Bianca gets the win on Carmella. She starts to get beat down by Chelsea and Carmella. And Asuka comes out.
By the way, she kind of like I don't know if, I'm
Amazing.
assuming she's okay. She was wearing heels. I swore that she was limping a little on the way to the ring, but I mean,
I think it was the heels.
Yeah, it's probably the heels.
But I don't know.
That was my assumption at the end. I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about. She's probably not injured at all.
I hope not. I think it's just the heels. Those are some high heels. But she comes out to confront Chelsea and Carmella and spits in Chelsea Green's face. Look at Chelsea Green. She took this blue mist just so funny. Oh my gosh.
And she should have closed her mouth. You don't want anyone spitting into your face like that in 2023.
Yeah, so I have some major thoughts on this build, but I want to go to AJ, somebody who's not familiar with all of these characters. Give me the good, the bad, the ugly of it. Did you like these segments? What did you think of these women?
Okay, keep in mind, back in my day,
there were no women.
Fabulous Moolah was the woman, and she was 60 when I was watching. So, they just started when I started watching to try and build it up a little bit with the Cyndi Lauper and the Wendy Richter of it all. Yeah. But look, these women, even the women who I don't think are particularly good wrestlers today, are light years better than anything I saw back in my day. And caveat: everyone in the WWE is an amazing athlete. I'm put that to shame. I don't know who these people are. I was so nervous for that hair. Why is wrestling with the hair that long? I mean, I just think that's just dangerous. Every time she went to the ropes, I thought I was going to get caught up in the ropes, or she was going to trip over it. Like, broken necks would be real.
So impressive, and we didn't even get like there's often this spot of like someone trying to tug her hair. The thing I'm most impressed by with Bianca, which you'll notice in her matches, is like she is 90% of the time holding her braid,
constantly aware,
which is you always see her maneuvering it around while she's doing everything. It's like it's very amazing. But it's also so subtle. But if you look, you're like, oh my gosh, she is. She does her flip off the ropes and she's like holding the braid, like, so it doesn't trip her up. She was
very impressive athletically. I didn't like this Carmella or Chelsea Green. I didn't like the backstage stuff at all. I thought it was. I'm used to I understand why we do the backstage stuff, and I like some of it. I think, and I know it's exaggerated reality. No one's this stupid, or anything like that. But I just didn't like the characters at all. I didn't get why they were teaming together, except for her to come out and then interfere because she's going to face her next. So that's very old gimmick. All this did was make me want to see more of Asuka. Like, this whole thing just made me really intrigued by Asuka. The throwback to the Great Kabuki and the fog, I thought was interesting. I don't know if she's got any relation to Kabuki at all, but that was a familiar thing that I haven't seen since then. So, like, cool. She had, I thought, charisma. I thought the two of them. I love that. Are you here to help me? Are you here to hurt me? Are we teaming up? Is this potentially a 2-on-2 for the future? Or are you like? I love that lack of trust between them. That was just a fantastic bit of tension that I didn't get from a lot of the match itself, or the whole Chelsea thing. Like, none of that worked for me. This worked for me. So if they're building up to something with the two of them, mission accomplished.
That's exactly it. They Asuka and Bianca are fighting each other at WrestleMania. So it's a building, it's a stepping stone for it. So I agree with you. Mission accomplished in that regard. Matt, what were your thoughts on this?
I agree with you, AJ, on a lot of what you mentioned. And in particular, like, Asuka's charisma just, it oozes out where you don't even need that mic time or something to be said. For me, I really feel like Bianca was in the weakest spot out of everyone here, in the sense that, yes, she has the match, looks great. We're used to it, Mari. Like, of course, Bianca was winning here. We knew that going into this. Of course, she's amazing. Like, she's leading into WrestleMania, so she will be undefeated to do that. But it is interesting that we got the promo backstage with Chelsea Green and Carmella, and I'm glad that they're together, because weeks ago I remember thinking like, ooh, they should put those two together because they have like similar characters, or they complement complementary characters beyond the fact that they both wore matching outfits, which I appreciate in a tag team. But so that's one thing. They had that. Bianca comes out, has her match, doesn't say any words, and I just want more from Bianca. Like, I want to hear from her and give her more time to build a story. And yeah, exactly. So it was not as great, but I do like the idea of the Chelsea Green Carmella tag team.
Me too.
Probably wouldn't have put them. I'm okay with them being in this spot losing to Bianca, but I could see them actually like developing as a fun, maybe comedy tag team with the whole Karen of it all and all of that. So
yeah. I agree. And I think me and Matt are on the same page in the sense that the build for like this made Asuka look good, but the build to Bianca and Asuka is still lacking for me, and it will continue to lack for me until I get some sort of spice between the two of them. Before I get into that, again, Chelsea Green and Carmella teaming up, I think this is a perfect way to maybe usher them towards a tag team for after WrestleMania. And they're perfectly fine here, good at stepping stones, good at character building, good at getting all of that over. So I appreciated all of this, and I look forward to them in the future. However, back to Bianca and Asuka, they are hesitant to turn either one of them heel or to at least make them do heelish things, because the audience is accepting Asuka. The audience loves Asuka. We love Asuka. AJ just watched her for 30 seconds and loved her. So that's the problem when she's supposed to be, from what our understanding was, switching characters up. She's supposed to be going darker. That was the whole point, or that's what we all thought when she had debuted this character during the Rumble, that she was gonna get darker, and she's not, because she's cool and people are loving her. So I do not like builds where it's like face builds. I've said this all the time. I just don't like these type of builds. And even on commentary, like Corey Graves, it's a cold day in hell when I have to agree with him, but he's like, if Asuka is smart, she should be coming out to help Carmella and Chelsea Green beat up Bianca. And I'm like, yes, I completely agree. He said that. Yeah, he said that. And because like that is your opponent, she's holding the belt that you want. Like I want that, but you know what? I feel like I'm gonna give them time to make it work. I think so. This feels like it's gonna lead to, if I'm going to guess what the WWE is gonna do next, because sometimes it's easy and predictable. It's gonna be Bianca and Asuka versus Chelsea Green and Carmella next week on Raw. And they're gonna beat Chelsea and Carmella. I need for Asuka to turn on Bianca at the end of that. Like I need that. I need that switch to happen, because no matter what, if Asuka does that, you're still gonna get the dueling chants at WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? Like you're still gonna get it. You're still gonna get the let's go Asuka, let's go EST. Even if she's turned a corner. And even if she's turned a corner to the point where it's just like, I need that belt. I'm going to do everything I can to take that belt away from you, Bianca. You know what I'm saying? Like for right now, you can do that and have that character still be darker, still have that fire between the two of them. Am I off base here, Matt?
I don't think so. But also, I mean, I get, like, back to the Corey Graves comment, I understand Asuka saying, I'm a competitor. I want Bianca at her best when I'm going into WrestleMania. So there's that element of it. No excuses. Even though it is, April 1st and 2nd is when WrestleMania is happening. So we have a few weeks.
Yeah.
A beatdown for Bianca wouldn't have hurt her too much. But I think that your guess about what's happening on Raw next week, and maybe it's not even next week, because we still have a few weeks leading into Mania. So I think that I could see them doing something like maybe, and I think AJ, you might have referenced this earlier, but it could be like Asuka versus Chelsea Green, or like Bianca versus Chelsea Green next week, and then the week after that we have the tag match that's Asuka and Bianca versus Chelsea Green and Carmella, like struggling to get along. We'll see. But I just wish that there was more build up and more tension here, so that if Asuka wins at WrestleMania, which could very well happen, that people would care and be more emotionally invested. It's just not there, as great as she is. There we go.
All right. So let's move on to a semi-complicated story here that I thought that they did really well on Raw, and followed it up a little pretty well on SmackDown as well. So Kevin Owens opens Raw. Him and Solo Sikoa open Raw with a barn burner of a match, but of course the match can't finish because Jimmy Uso intervenes and starts beating up KO. We still don't know where Jay is. Sami helps repel the 2-on-1 attack on KO.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries to beg Sami tries to beg KO to align with him so that they can erase the bloodline. He wants to take the bloodline down. He wants to end their reign of terror. And he asks Kevin Owens to align with him. Kevin Owens refuses, rightfully so, because for months Sami picked them over him,
Yeah.
So it makes sense. And then in the background of the Elias, Rick Boogs, Bronson Reed of it all, which was a funny segment in itself, but not what we're here for. In the background, you could see Cody Rhodes and KO talking, being very animated. And from the animated gestures and hand signals, it really does feel like Cody Rhodes is trying to implore KO to help Sami against the bloodline and effectively help him as well, because Cody Rhodes will be facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and it only behooves him if the bloodline is dismantled before that happens. So Sami Zayn has a match against Jimmy Uso as the headline. Jay shows up in the match, and we're like, oh, who's he rooting for? We don't know who he's rooting for, but Sami's able to steal a win from Jimmy Uso. What?
No, please keep going. I'm just emotionally being brought back to this moment.
Yeah, to the moment. Yeah,
it's a lot. Yeah.
And Sami steals the win. We get Jay entering the ring, and just a lot of body acting here. Not we don't know what they're whispering to each other truly, really, or whatever. But Jay doesn't hug Jimmy. He goes to stand by Sami Zayn. He hugs Sami Zayn. The audience explodes, just explodes.
And they are standing there for a while, by the way. Because sometimes you're like, okay, where's hit the music? Where's the music?
Where's the music?
The lights? What are they gonna do? But they were just standing there. And I don't know, Mari.
They were stoking it in. I picked up on it, but it was also they were just kind of soaking it in because the crowd was literally chanting, and they were. And he was also Jay was saying stuff oh, it's you, Sami, and then Sami was like, Jimmy, come on, you can join us, and all that stuff. But Jay hits him with a super kick and was like, how dare you think I would choose you over my brother? That's my twin brother. I'm not choosing you. And then they start beating up on Sami, and Cody Rhodes music hits. Cody comes and tries to protect Sami. So again, I'm gonna go to AJ first because I kind of want to hear what he thought about this. Again, we didn't send you as much wrestling as maybe you would have liked. We do love a good promo here or there. And this is a very deep running complicated story. But what was your take on just these 4 segments that we saw on Raw?
Well, first of all, it did feel like you had said, this is really cool new show that's
sorry, we lost you for a little bit there, AJ.
Oh, you got me back?
Yeah, you're back.
You're saying it's a cool show that what?
Yeah.
No, this is I feel like, there's this cool new streaming show, and you're saying you have to watch this show, but you have to start watching with episode 8 out of 10 instead of episode 1 out of 10, because by the end of it, I got the gist. But, when it was here's this guy in the crowd. Who is this guy? I don't know who he is. I don't know what they're related. And they're hugging. Wait, were they fighting? Is this so it was hard to follow for someone who's just jumping in to the story. By the end, obviously, I get it. I mean, we all know the audience thinks they're friends, but no, he's kicking him. It's obviously that kind of stuff you get. what it did point out to me, one thing is just presentation style. They really need to not always have to do the musical intro of these guys with the big neon lights and saying that the guy's coming in before they come in. Just let the guy come in. Like, you had this thing where the brother was just in the crowd, and they didn't promote the music, and there was a much more natural buzz and build from the crowd going, oh, look, he's over there, who's coming in, oh, what's he gonna do? That worked naturally and organically, as opposed to when Cody Rhodes comes in and is like, American Nightmare, blah, 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 blah. Like, don't telegraph that they're coming in. The audience is still going to react. I mean, I remember back in the day, we didn't have theme songs in the middle. Like, everyone came into the ring with the song, but if someone came in to break up a match, you didn't hear anything. You just had to notice it when it happened. Maybe you didn't notice it until the guy was already beating them up. So I think just for presentation wise, I was a little bit confused by the going back and forth and everything. Trust your hands. They know what's going on. I thought it was interesting, but not understanding the story. I don't know if I personally am the one to enjoy it. But by the end, I get it. Okay, it's like those two versus those two. Cool.
Yeah, you know what? Just to follow up quickly, AJ. If you were a wrestler, where would you enter from? That's all we want to know. Yeah, where are you entering? That's the big question.
You mean directly into the ring, Renter?
Like, would you enter from the crowd? Would you enter from the concession stand? Would you enter from under the ring? Would you enter would you be on the announce booth? Like anything?
I would like to be lowered from. Well, maybe not after.
No.
I would like to be lowered down, man.
It's pretty glamorous, though. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. Yeah, definitely entering from the crowd, I think, is the biggest buzz. Although you have these ramps and the glorified neon signs and your music. I do think when Cody Rhodes entered for his own match later, that's a great entrance. That was cool. That I like.
Yeah. But the crowd loves that song, his song and stuff. So
that's how you enter. Like, you don't need to do that here. And it was nice to see a Rhodes. It's nice to see that 30 years later there's still a Rhodes wrestling. So that was kind of fun. I knew who he was instantly just based on name.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the beautiful thing too, that the thing that's hard. A few weeks ago when Mari wasn't here on the Wrestling RHAPUp, we were talking about this story and how for the smart fans, or for the smarks who are following along, like, this is great because you're like, I know the history, I know the background, Dusty Rhodes, like you later see Paul Heyman in relation to the bloodline, and the bloodline's related to The Rock, and The Rock's family has a connection with Paul Heyman, and there's like a lot of intertwined history, but it makes it kind of hard to follow along if you're not in on it. And they do remind you of the history, so there are like more clips and things to dive into. But
I didn't feel it, but I was able. As it was going on, I was able to pick up on the cues. Like it really felt like when he was talking, when Zayn was talking to KO backstage. That felt like a Tuesday episode of a week of soap opera, where eventually they're gonna like either get together and fight, or they're just gonna beat each other up. But this is Tuesday. We just have to fill the audience in on the backstory. Like, yes, but remember, I can't trust you because XYZ. Like, You need that, and from a wrestling standpoint, that's good. That's good building, because it's immediately. I knew this is not getting resolved this week. Cool. I know 3 weeks from now this is going to come to a head. The pacing is there, and the cues are there.
Yeah.
So on SmackDown, we got a little bit more insight on what Jay's been doing. Jay said he's going to explain later tonight on what his choices were. Paul Heyman had some very choice words for Cody Rhodes, which is very interesting. We'll circle back to Paul Heyman here. But Sami Zayn again ends up on the wrong side of the bloodline. Cody Rhodes comes to help out. They're the ones who are standing tall at the end of SmackDown. Cody Rhodes came out first. My bad. Cody Rhodes came out first and was talking, and then Sami came in for the crowd, no music, ambushed them, and then him and Cody Rhodes get the upper hand. But basically, Jay is back. He's tied to Jimmy. I like how they did this, and this is how Jay was threatening on being like a good face. Like, people were talking about, oh, is he gonna dethrone Roman and stuff like that? And is he the one that's gonna be the breaking point of the bloodline? And then he just automatically switches. He's like, nah, I'm back. I'm solid. I'm here with my twin. We got these belts. We're going in, you know, and we're back to like them versus Sami and Cody, which, like AJ said, is pointing to will eventually get, you know, KO. There's no way we don't get KO in this later down the road. And then once Cody and Roman are done at WrestleMania, I would love to see some 6-man matches down the road with, you know, with all of them. That can be like, I feel like we're setting up for the future here. So totally. I really, really enjoyed this. Matt, any other thoughts about what happened on SmackDown?
No, not really. I mean, I think that what was interesting, the only thing is that Paul Heyman, he's being interviewed by Kayla Braxton backstage, and she's like trying to talk with him about Jey Uso and basically that one storyline. But then he pivots to talking about Cody. So it's really fascinating, AJ, even just like how the match at WrestleMania is Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. That's happening in a few weeks. But we are getting Paul Heyman across from Cody Rhodes more than we're getting Roman Reigns across from Cody Rhodes. Meanwhile, there's also this story with the rest of the bloodline, which like include. It's funny because we haven't seen Roman opposite of Sami Zayn in a little bit, but like we are seeing them with Heyman also with this other thing with KO and everyone. So lots of things mixed in basically, but I do think it's interesting that Heyman keeps needling at Cody. But I don't, you know, it works. Like he continues to like hit below the belt, which is good, I guess. So yeah, I don't mind it.
What did you think of all of this here, AJ?
Well, it was interesting because, you know, I haven't watched SmackDown before, and it really felt like a Fox programming. As in Fox News. I felt like I was watching Fox News. It was just like, I'd like to talk to you, Paul Heyman, about this sort of thing. And he's like, okay, deflect. So you can have the truth, but what is the truth? And I'm like, oh my God. I loved his promo. I loved him talking. This is an old school classic. You know, this is Mean Gene Okerlund talking to a wrestler back in the day. And just, you have 2 minutes to fill, good sir. Say whatever you want. Ramble. It was really well done. I enjoyed.
Oh, we lost you again, AJ. Why is my light doing that?
I don't know.
Right? Did you see that? Like,
yeah, your light just like
am
flashing. Craig, yeah,
oh, you're back. You're back there.
I'm back. I spiraled as well. No, but I was saying, like, so at the end of the day, it was more like, again, I felt this kind of correlation between watching Fox News and like a Tucker Carlson, where it's like, yeah, he's going to say what he wants to say. Facts be damned. So I didn't know if what he was saying was true at all. But I know that there's a certain portion of people who are going to go, see, yep, he speaks the truth. Yes, it kind of made me feel like, wow, wrestling is responsible for a lot. All we need is like a guy with Viking horns as a wrestler, and we've got Q Shaman coming in. It's kind of the same thing in some ways.
There's always a Viking somewhere nearby.
Yeah, you should see the clips I did not send you.
or not, you know, you don't need to see them, but they
yeah, no, I Paul Heyman was very entertaining, and I do like the build up.
Awesome. All right, so let's just take a quick break and we'll be right back. All righty. So one last like really big storyline to get into before we like touch on some smaller ones. Rey Mysterio was announced for the WWE Hall of Fame class 2023. I am so excited for him. Like, that is just amazing. Again, somebody who luckily will be able to get his flowers while he's still here, who deserves them, who, like, I mean, just I'm so excited for Rey, and he seems to really have like taken this to heart. And before we get into like all of the rest of the stuff surrounding it. We did get a question by Derek in the Facebook group. He said Rey just got announced for the Hall of Fame. So who inducts him? Does he retire after Mania? I feel like this is kind of a hard question, you know?
No, he does not retire after Mania. That's all.
I think he should.
What?
I think he should.
He looks so sad lately. Like he's looked so pitiful that he can't go out on this note is the thing.
No, I think he goes out on the note of putting his son over and stare at the lights for his son and just ride into the sunset.
Yes, his lovely son Dominic Mysterio, who by the way, like I just to touch on the fashion of Dominic Mysterio for a second. Love it. He's so stylish. But in terms of does Rey, what was the first question from Derek?
Who inducts him into the Hall of Fame?
That is $1 million question.
I have one answer. Edge. Why not Edge? Yeah,
I could see it being Edge. I also thought of Batista. They had a little bit of a thing at one point. It's always so hard to tell because like they when people are inducted into the Hall of Fame, like I think they're or at least traditionally they've been given a chance to say like, who do you want to induct you? And so it'll be kind of telling, it's hard to tell, but Edge would make sense. Kurt Angle, so many people.
Maybe, and sometimes they do family members too, right? Like his wife could do it. It wouldn't make sense for Dominic to do it right now because they're like literally in the middle of their feud, so that doesn't make sense.
I want Dominic to take out like whoever it's supposed to be, just take them out and grab the mic and do the speech.
That would kind of be funny. Oh my god! But don't do a work at the Hall of Fame. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like. They just default. If they can't think of anybody, then it's always just Triple H. I'm just like, that's stupid.
That would be really bad. No one wants that.
AJ, I know Rey Mysterio were you able to watch any of his stuff?
Maybe in like WCW or something.
Well, I mean, I watched Rey Mysterio Senior, his uncle.
Oh yeah.
I enjoyed the luchador style. I think it's great to have one or two always. Like Mil Mascaras was like a legend, and even this guy came in for a little bit. The Spoiler, who was not great, but still just that high wire stuff is just so different and enjoyable to see. I never really watched Rey Mysterio, so I even though I didn't know about the whole Eddie Guerrero thing, even I felt the cutting remark when it came down. And I gotta say, like, all you need to know is father, son. I get it. I get everything that's going on there. And I gotta say, a lot of times you say this stuff is scripted, and I'm sure they get along in real life and they're just playing this up for this. Some of those comments sounded a little real though. He grew up on that, like, and you didn't come to any of my baseball games. You did like absentee dad. Like, I mean, I even said deadbeat dad before he did because I knew that was the line that was coming.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but and also
an honest place even though he loves his dad and followed his profession. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I was gonna say, I jokingly, but I get where Dom's coming from. Like, it's kind of this thing where, and we've seen it with like really good villains in all sorts of media, but like where you get where they're coming from and where they're kind of justified, so you could sympathize with them, but they just take it too far.
The one step too far.
And and so I feel like that with Dom, where I'm like, yeah, he didn't show up for Thanksgiving, did he? He didn't show up for your soccer games, your football games. You should be upset, but we don't need to beat him down even more for being a deadbeat dad. He already is being himself up for having been a deadbeat dad. So
I think so as well. Yeah, and finally, just one more, Vicky Guerrero. I think Vicky Guerrero could definitely do the induction as well. But yeah, so Rey is getting honored. He's talking about how it's such a special night. Like, I'm so excited for him. You can tell he is like it really is something that he's so glad for. And he deserves it because Rey Mysterio has been like single-handedly accredited to bringing luchador style to WWE, WCW. One of those people who like really helped people understand that style. He's such the permanent underdog and all that stuff. They talked about it in the little promo package. But I remember watching him as a kid. I remember watching him when he didn't wear the mask, watching him when he had the mask on. And like when he didn't have it on in WCW and he had like his hip hop gimmick. And then when he went to WWE, loved it. So Rey has been such a phenomenal part of wrestling for the past like 20 plus years, like very long time. Like, so kudos to him. So he comes out, try to celebrate his day, but of course, Dominic and the Judgment Day come out, and I just love hearing the crowd react to Dominic. I love hearing pure heels get booed the house down. Like, I love it. I just love it because it feels like a rarity. It truly feels like a rarity nowadays. Like, you don't get those natural true heels and people who love to hear the boos. Like, you know, and Dominic is one of those people, and the stuttering and almost kind of like still the thought process of him not being ready, it just makes it just really accentuates the point. And then Legado del Fantasma coming out, and Santos Escobar, like them being able to flip their alignments because they're going up against the Judgment Day, and Santos talking about how, you know, in previous discussions, but talking about how important luchador style is and respect and all of that. I love this Judgment Day versus Legado, and I think this is very important because it's building up something for the Judgment Day to do on SmackDown in the event that Rhea wins the Women's SmackDown Championship. Because if Rhea wins the Women's SmackDown Championship, then she's coming to SmackDown. You know what I'm saying? And the whole Judgment Day should come to SmackDown with her. You know, I feel like they've done all they can do over on Raw, especially without the belts, you know, with the two tag team belts being tied up by the Usos. So them coming to SmackDown and kind of automatically having a feud that they can really milk out. I feel like they can really milk out this Legado feud. I don't care if we saw it yesterday. I want to see it at least 8 more times because I really enjoyed the match. So this could be a good springboard for that. And then of course it reinforces the thought process that we're gonna get Rey and Dominic at WrestleMania. My only thought process is how are we gonna get there? Because Rey is adamant.
Rey and Dom. I thought you said Rhea and Dominic. I was like, what?
Oh, sorry. Rey and Dom.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna get Rey. Yeah, we're gonna get Rey and Dom at WrestleMania. But how are we gonna do that? Because Rey does not want to fight Dominic. He's saying, no matter what you do, I will not fight you. So
where's Chappelle? Where's Chappelle right now?
What thing is he gonna have to do?
No, I need Chappelle. I need Chappelle right now because I need him to jump in and talk about just beat your son up, beat that man up. I feel like, and that's just the thing. Like your son is disrespecting
you. Have got to beat your son's ass.
Impression, yes. Exactly. So I personally really like all of this that we got from Judgment Day and Legado. Matt, what did you think?
It was great, and it didn't give us too much, right? So I love it. I completely agree with you, Mari. Like we were setting up for more, so it was great, and I do appreciate the flow. Again, I feel like this is like more of a. I think I was like Sarah Carradine on my minds, where I'm just like I appreciate the flow from them all being in the ring competing to just Dom and Rey being there, which could have been really awkward. Like, where did everyone go? They all just disappeared when they really justified that. And so it was nice. It all flowed well and made sense to me. And I also just like that. I mean, you kind of referenced this, Mari, but Legado del Fantasma's being built up to be considered on the level with Judgment Day. They're not there yet, but they're, you know, just by being across from them, they're getting there, which I think is also really positive. It never helps to build more stars and more opponents, to your point. So I really like everything that they're doing with Dominic, with Rey, with Rhea, and that, yeah, it's solid.
Yeah, and Dominic really like saying that I should have been Eddie's son. Those words cutting Ray deep and honestly going to the heart of the feud that we've been talking about. Clearly, Dominic has started to emulate Eddie because he feels like his father is not the person he wants to emulate. So, any final thoughts on this here, AJ?
I was thoroughly entertained by this whole segment. I like the gangs coming together.
Yeah.
They showed up, and I like that there was a distinct personality between the two sides. Like, I think a lot of what I saw during what you gave me, all the clips, a lack of distinction in personalities. I know that they're individuals, but used to be where it was everyone got a job,
right?
Yeah, it was like, oh, here's the tax attorney, here's the clown, here's the plumber, here's the hillbilly, like whatever it was, like that was their identity. But you instantly knew who you were getting in the ring because of that. Like every time someone came to the ring, it was like, okay, so these are the goth kid Lost Boys. Like I don't know who they are. But in contrast to the other team, was like, oh cool, okay, now I get it. They're the traditionalist good guys. They're the new generation bad guy. I kind of got the feel for it, so I was enjoying this immensely, and it was a fun match.
Yeah, we also got Charlotte having a basically a squash match with Shotzi Blackheart. While Rhea watched, and then her and Rhea exchanged a few words after that. It's another questionable build for the women's titles. The two titles are having some questionable builds right now.
Yeah. I think we talked about this a little last week, Mari, but basically like how I'd sum it up is that Charlotte and Bianca are both, and actually Charlotte did Charlotte have mic time this week?
She did.
They had that like back and forth, right? Which was nice. But I do feel like Charlotte has been second fiddle to Rhea in terms of just involvement in the different stories. And similarly, Bianca has felt like second fiddle to Asuka, just with the charisma, and then even with Chelsea Green and Carmella, like we were saying. So yeah, questionable booking, and I wish that there was more, but I actually really liked and enjoyed Charlotte's promo here, where she was like, some people love me, some people, and she stopped short of saying hate me, but she's like, some people feel otherwise. And I'm just like, yes, this is accurate. And everything she said, I think, was really spot on. Like comparing that with the Charlotte Rhea promo with the John Cena Austin Theory promo, like I think that Charlotte as a veteran did very well make Rhea look better and builds her up as the person who will rip you apart, versus like burying her and just making her look like she's less deserving, which then makes you look not as good when you win, and it actually makes you look really bad when you lose. So I'm into this. But AJ, any thoughts on the Charlotte Rhea dynamic that came up here? So curious. So curious to hear more from you on Charlotte and Rhea. And
so let me just say real quick.
Well, Mari, go first.
Yeah, that I thought Charlotte did an excellent job here at promo wise. I thought she gave Rhea so many compliments, which is making me feel better because Charlotte normally doesn't do this. She normally will still tear her opponents apart. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that she gave Rhea a little bit of the fact that she gave Rhea some compliments and stuff like that means that I can definitely see Rhea winning. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like this is a good sign here. It still feels a little weird because again, Rhea is supposed to be the heel here, and Charlotte's supposed to kind of be the good guy.
And I think that's what it's
working. Yeah, but it also still feels weird because I love their alignments the last time that they feuded, and I like that. But this is still cool. You know, it's still all right. And I just need Rhea to win. So yes. AJ, your thoughts on the Charlotte Rhea of it?
Yeah, sorry, I blipped out after much consideration, but it was good because when I came back, you answered the question I had.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if Charlotte was a face or heel. I could not tell at all, and that confused me greatly. I didn't know what I was supposed to feel there. I was happy to see that they put a schmo, a jobber, in the ring with her. I don't know who the Shotsky is.
Shotsky.
Yeah,
Shotsky.
Not very good. Didn't sell a lot of the stuff very well. Like it's like a hold. Are you gonna grab me now and put me in the floor? Okay, thank you. Harken back to the old days where you had SD Jones and Johnny Raj. You know they're gonna lose. And you don't have to worry about that.
Spoiler.
But I just did not. I didn't get what she was supposed to be, so I didn't know what to make of the interaction between the two of them. I thought she's the hero, right? Because she was a little weak for a hero. But like you said, it did make me feel that, okay, her opponent is actually a comer and is on the rise and could even win this thing. So it worked, even though I was a little confused. Maybe if I was watching regularly, I would get it.
No, totally.
No, I mean, like we know this is Charlotte's version of a good character. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like we are grasping at straws because her character seems to still kind of level out, being the best, being the greatest, outworking people. And she just said it in a lighter tone this time, as opposed to like with her signature sneer, like I am the best, I am the queen. Like it's just in her inflection, and we just know because we watch so much Charlotte Flair promos that she's trying to be lighter here. She's trying to be the good guy.
And I will also say, I think like a huge part of Charlotte always will just be there's something about her tone of voice that isn't likable. And because some people just have that like warmth to them that you pick up with Charlotte, you don't. But that's tough, and that's something that she kind of has to learn to figure out. And I think her acknowledging that people don't like her is helpful in that, rather than pretending that she's the hero.
But she has to do it without coming off as a victim. And
exactly.
I think a lot of that was coming like, I work hard and people don't like me. Why don't people like me? Like that if you're the champion, if you're you can't come across that way. It's fine if you're the challenger, but she's not. So
So we had a quick segment with Becky, Lita, and Trish celebrating their win, but of course they were interrupted by Damage CTRL, which this happens all the time. But I mean, Bayley was firing off at the hip here, basically calling like Trish and Lita like part-timers, said, y'all just came back. They are, I mean, true, but that they just came back to steal their like titles and stuff and to hoard their stats. But she also said, I know that me and Becky wouldn't be standing in this ring if it wasn't for you two. Like, but also telling them like this is her show now and they need to get off and that they're old. It was like pretty funny. Like Bayley is so good on the mic when it comes to stuff like that. And this was just like it really was just a finalizing of another match. We're gonna get we're gonna get 6 women at Wrestlemania here, right?
Yes. I don't know if they're calling. No, you're right. And I don't know if they're gonna call it a trios match or if they're gonna call it like a 6-woman tag match. Not that it's the same thing, 3-on-3, but Corey Graves used the phrase trios, which is not something that's used in WWE typically as the naming for it. So that's what we're gonna get. And
but it's not for the belts, though, right?
No, not for the belts, not for the belts. And it's interesting. Like Trish Stratus, Canadian hero, Canadian celebrity, and icon, and women's wrestling legend. And just kind of like this is the match that we've kind of been anticipating, Mari, which is great. But it's kind of a question of like, what do they?
It just feels weird with Lita and
I'll
Becky
take it. I'll take it as like a special attraction match. I guess my question is, where does it go from here? Because I mean, it sounds like no matter what that they're gonna leave WrestleMania with those championships still if they're not defending them before WrestleMania again. So very interesting that this story seems like it'll go past WrestleMania, to me at least.
AJ knows. Where's it going, AJ?
AJ knows.
Not knowing any of the backstory going in, I fresh eyes or anything, but my take, if you had asked me what was this all about, what's her name? Bayley? Is that you said?
Bayley.
Right, so her two flunkies are irrelevant to me. Like they're not not good
unfortunately.
wrestlers, and it was her.
Don't say that part because
I'm saying in relation to the six I saw in the ring. No, in relation I saw the six in the ring, like she stood out, and
she does stand out. Yeah,
they took falls in this like nobody's business. They looked like they didn't belong in the same ring with the other people,
which is sad.
But it also struck me that Bayley was fomenting a little discord between the two ladies there, and that it's going to end up being Lita and Trish versus Becky and Bayley. I think that it's clearly. It clearly looks like because she was playing them against each other, and I just think that's where I saw this as being a precursor to. Is like, yeah, you think she's your friend, but she's more close to Trish. I think that's what's going to happen there, and you're going to get a 2-2 split, and they're going to square off because the four of them in the ring together looked good. Like I said, I don't know the other two, but they didn't look like they belonged in the same ring with those four.
That is very interesting, especially because of a question that we got in the Job as a Squadcast group. Rumor and innuendo says that Trish may be turning heel and feuding with Becky, leading into a SummerSlam match. So that would be in like August or late July. Fantasy book how this happens, how they can actually get people to boo Trish. Like, I think that, there's a world where Trish and Lita become heels, which does not make much sense to me because they are those established legends who have these built-in fan bases. Like, I think even if Trish is evil, people are going to cheer or be really into that, right? So I like what you said though, AJ, with Becky potentially like turning on Lita, joining Bayley. I don't know where that leaves like Io Sky and Dakota Kai, who are with Bayley now. Maybe they'll all be together, who knows? But this, actually the thing that's been fascinating, like just to think this through, is like Bayley's had some weird like dynamics with Io and with Dakota. And so I feel like that will fall apart, but then maybe we will see Becky turn heel with Bayley, but people love Becky. So this is all going to be very confusing.
It's very confusing. Yeah. We saw that when Bayley accepted the look at me. Sorry. When when Bayley accepted the challenge of Io and Dakota were kind of like, what? And I'm wondering if they were thinking that because again, why are the belts here? Like it's semi-annoying because I like this buildup. I truly like this feud between all six of them. But why are the belts here if they're not for the belts? Like I'm kind of angry about that. Like
I would be, if I were Io or Dakota, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I get to be in a high profile WrestleMania match rather than some other match where well, I guess they would be okay. I could see it where maybe they'd want to compete for a rematch for the championships.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be the yeah. And so we're getting the belts tied up in this feud, and it's hard to kind of make that make sense because so are we saying Trish turns heel because she's mad that Lita and Becky are the tag team, but it doesn't kind of gel over for me because if anything, I think I would want it to end with Lita and Trish having the belts since they never got to have the belts. You know what I'm saying?
And that's their thing, like team bestie, like they're legit best friends. Like that's their thing. And they never really truly got to be a team. Like they've always been associated for the past 2 decades, AJ. They've been associated acts, both Hall of Famers. So yeah, I'm with you, Mari. But the cool thing is, again, if the championships are still on Lita and Becky, like I feel like we're getting more Lita and Becky post Mania, which I am definitely not complaining about. That's for sure.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. It doesn't, I can't fantasy book this, Derek, I'm sorry, because it right now, it just doesn't make sense to me. And I agree. I unfortunately agree with AJ in the sense, like, I don't like how, Io and Dakota are being presented within this feud. Io Sky is arguably the best women's wrestler in the world, literally in the world.
And in fairness, I did not actually see them wrestle.
Exactly.
I was going to say, as AJ definitely said earlier, Io Sky is one. No, but yeah, and I think like, you know, AJ, just to validate what you're saying, like their presence is the presence for Dakota and Io.
They're not being booked correctly.
They're not being booked correctly. They have it, but they are those lackeys. So you picked up on, I think, what they're trying to lay down.
Yeah. And it's just annoying because it feels like WWE has done this consistently where they don't know how to properly book female factions, because it's giving very much Riot Squad, and like where Riot Squad had all these really cool characters in it and people liked them or even hated them when they turned heel, but they kept getting defeated, they kept getting beaten, that it just got to the point where it's like there's no longer a threat here. Like I hate that Damage CTRL came in on such a good high, but they never were able to be as threatening as they should have been. And I want that run before they break them up, but it already looks like we might be on the road to them breaking up. So it's just very, very annoying to me. So I don't know if Trish turns heel. I don't know if Becky turns on Team Bestie and joins Bayley. And then what do we have, like 3 tag teams here but like it doesn't truly make sense because Bayley and Becky have been going back and forth and within the last few months. So I don't know. I like the build itself a little. I do like it, minus the belts, because we talked about it last week. They won the belts a week ago. Like, why did they win the belts like 3 weeks before 4 weeks before WrestleMania? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And it's just almost like, okay, well then can we get another team in here? We can't, because of course WWE didn't build up any other women's teams to take these belts and hold them so that we can continue this storyline. Well,
no,
you know,
you don't want another team there, because then it
I know you don't.
really
I'm
sad for Io and Dakota, because then it's like, oh my gosh, now they're thrown to the side even more.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's weird. We're on the ride. Like, it could be more exciting, but we're on the journey. We're on the ride. Like, the unpredictability of it is.
I'm complaining about it, and it's the better built storyline of all of the women.
Right.
It is the better
built
storyline.
Unfortunate. Which is unfortunate, but you know, we'll take it.
Okay. So next up, we got Logan Paul confronting Seth Rollins. Miz was there. I think it was a Miz TV, but I'm not even sure.
I think so.
But another match that they made official at WrestleMania. We knew we were getting Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins for a long time. AJ, do you know who Logan Paul is?
I mean, I'm aware of the Paul brothers.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
like,
I don't know which
we're
one's
all
which.
forced to be aware of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know which one's which at all, but okay. I mean, you know, I mean, the thing I was most impressed about this whole segment was Seth lying still and actually looking like he was knocked out for as long as he did. Because a lot of times you give it away by like open your eyes or moving. Like, hey, he played knocked out real good.
What are your thoughts on Seth Rollins as a character?
I didn't really see a lot enough here to really know what's going on. But the fact that my impression of Logan Paul, either Logan Paul is really good at this, or Seth Rollins is really bad at this. Because I thought their levels were fairly even, and I don't know enough to know which. But I did think they measured up well together.
You know, that's interesting, because this was not the, you know, like Seth Rollins and you know, actually all of your kind of takes are interesting because they really do reflect this week. Like, this wasn't Seth's biggest showcase. Like, this was really about Logan Paul, and then the Miz was there, so they kind of built up like, here's how Logan Paul, who's not a full-time wrestler, is getting the best on a former world champion and all that. But yeah, this really felt like Logan Paul's segment with an assist from Miz, and I think it builds to the match well, just to see Logan Paul like figure out how to get the better of Seth Rollins. It's also interesting like that the Miz is part of this story. I do enjoy that, because we did see, I mean, Logan Paul's debut
he's going to
match.
be the host.
Yeah, he's
Miz
the host,
of the show.
of
WrestleMania.
But I also wonder if he will accompany like
cool.
Logan Paul to the ring or factor into the match that way. Because like Logan Paul's debut match of his 4 or 5 matches to date was teaming with the Miz. So I like the consistency.
Yeah, and I still think Seth Rollins did a good job here. Like the crowd was firmly on his side to the point where they just kept singing his song over and over during Logan's promo.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh yeah.
well,
No. Just like the point, like they already we had that, so like let's use this time to build up Logan Paul more as a villain. Like let's get even more hate against him because everyone loves Seth. Like that's not changing anytime. Not to cut you off, but you know.
no, perfect. So, and finally, the last of the highlights segment. Gunther's WrestleMania opponent is still to be decided. So we did get a fatal 5-way on SmackDown for the chance to be the number 1 contender for the Intercontinental title match. Well, Sheamus and Drew got simultaneous pins on both Xavier Woods and LA Knight.
What are the odds?
Who was the 5th person in that match?
Wait, Xavier Woods, LA Knight, Karrion Kross.
Karrion Kross.
Yeah, he's the. Yeah, I guess he's not. He didn't get pinned.
I didn't see him. He didn't get pinned. No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I said Xavier Woods and LA Knight got pinned simultaneously. There were 2 refs there. They counted them at the same time. They both won? Question mark?
What? Yeah, I don't have any questions. It's, you know, they I feel like they keep doing this with the 2 of them. Like this is their story between Sheamus and Drew. Like, oh, I'm better. No, I'm better. Oh, I'm meaty. I'm meaty. And we just keep seeing these like meaty men slapping meats, as they say. AJ, don't ask any questions. And you know, I appreciate that there's some tension figuring out who's gonna face Gunther at WrestleMania, but I feel like we've seen this already.
We've seen them both already, and I'm kind of like I guess, but I love Gunther at least being like, yo, I said give me an opponent, man. Like
one singular. He's like that. That was the most intimidating grammar lesson that I have ever had. Where I'm like, oh sir.
He said challenger, not challengers.
No S. Hey, yeah.
So good. But like the Sheamus and Drew of it all, I'm kind of like, just make it a triple threat. I'm fine. Right? They announced a match for next week, which, if they're smart, it'll just end in some sort of, again, another tie of some sort, and just make it a triple threat, because I think Gunther is going to lose the belt at WrestleMania, unfortunately, because they want to move him up the card if they're smart. So make it a triple threat. Make one of these 2 men who clearly have tension with each other pin the other person to win the belt. More than likely, I think they're giving the belt to Sheamus at WrestleMania, because that'll be the final belt he needs to be a Grand Slam champion, because they've been kind of pushing that story. So maybe Sheamus pins Drew, WrestleMania, wins the IC title. Gunther stays like undefeated because he's still the ring general. He's still the badass. And then he maybe moves up the card to face Cody. So I think that's how you do it. AJ, what did you think? I don't think you liked that simultaneous pin, did you?
Oh no, I loved it. I love it.
Awesome.
Look, that harkened back to old school WWF, where you troll the audience. And it's like, oh, you think you're going to get a winner? Nah, you're not going to get a winner. Is that Dave Hebner? Or is that Dave Hebner? Like,
yeah.
You know, it's just classic.
It's his brother Earl.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it was perfect. It was hilarious. I love the fact that the only thing that would have put a button on it for me is if the referees got into a fight.
Yeah,
like he's the winner. No, he's the winner. That's what you needed to do to like really chef's kiss it. But no, and like you said, I love when you said like, and next week have a tie too. I think yes, troll your audience with this stuff, because in the end, this is soap opera stuff. This is all a soap opera. All wrestling is. It's like I'm in love with you. Now I'm in love with you. I'm cheating on you. Like all of this is soap opera. So if you can have a cliffhanger ending like this, like. Perfect. The thing I didn't quite understand, I didn't really like, is when Gunther was like given the grammar lesson. That whole, I don't like a weak commissioner. I don't like that feeling.
Oh,
you
like,
don't. You need to get me the point. So I didn't like that he's dictating. Like, no, I want one opponent. Like, you need someone in charge. Like they could be like he who shall not be named, apparently. You know, who like put up a big. Okay, sure. Like that's fine, but they have to be able to make the decision in the end. You can't have the tail leading the head. That was my only quibble.
And Adam Pearce, it's weird. It's really weird because Adam Pearce is like, he's not a general manager per se. He is official, WWE official Adam Pearce, who has booking powers, question mark. But like,
well, apparently everyone has booking power. I mean, people of Boston, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly. So I get it. I think it's also like he doesn't do that with everybody. It's just to kind of get over how intimidating Gunther is.
That's fair. Then that's fair. Okay, if it's just the one guy, that's fair. But again, jumping in was like, oh, is he just like one of these? Whatever you say, sir.
No, Gunther is like, I love Gunther's presentation. I wish I could have showed you more, really, but he is the IC title holder. He takes wrestling very seriously, and like he wants the best opponent. He thinks
just one.
Yeah, he likes that mat wrestling style, like that classic mat wrestling style is what he thinks is authentic wrestling style.
So he's a throwback to Bob Backlund. I see.
Yeah. And but I love me some Gunther. We all know this. So yes. I think that's what we need to get. I think we just get a triple threat because I don't truly want to see Sheamus versus Gunther again. Third time for the IC title, something to that effect. Plus, why insert Drew here if you're not going to use them? Both those men get on that WrestleMania card. So, and because during this match, they were really talking about like, you can't just be granted a spot on WrestleMania. You have to really earn it. Like, because there's been rumors that Triple H wants to cut down the card a little bit. So not to just give everybody participation placements, which honestly, when they say that, it just to me means we're cutting the women. Like that's all that truly means to me personally, but whatever. So I think this is a good build. I think if they're smart, they'll just figure out a way to get it a triple threat. The audience was chanting triple threat. We all kind of want it. And I think it would protect everybody. So just do that. We'll be fine with it. That's it for the highlights of the week. Again, the highlights of the week can be found in the show notes and the show description. We'll take another quick break and we'll come back with the shoot. All right, so we are going to do the shoot segment. Shoot in wrestling is any unplanned, unscripted real life occurrence within a wrestling event. For us, we're just going to go off the cuff, talk about something that we're either going to give it flowers, we're going to bury it, whatever, but we're going to talk about it and we're just going to do it. So we dipped into NXT a little bit this week. NXT had their like roadblock, like a little mini special this week.
Right.
And it was highlighted with the NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez. It was actually a great like match, like card up and down, honestly. And it solidified some stuff for Stand and Deliver. However, we want to focus on Roxanne Perez versus Meiko Satomura here in the shoot segment. This match, wow. It was, again, we don't cover NXT that much because sometimes we don't have the time. We kind of barely have the time right now. But this match was amazing in my eyes, and I know we all have a lot to talk about with this match. So I'm gonna start with Matt. Matt, do you want to talk about the match? Give the listeners a little bit of preview of what happened and all that.
Yeah, so this match was so hard hitting, and to be honest, like we're not like following NXT week to week. Like I like to like catch up on stuff, every once in a while with NXT just because we're not talking about it and there's so much wrestling to cover. And the thing that was so interesting is that, there were, I have to say this, like there were, a couple spots in the match that were, that could have been like cleaner, but everything was so hard hitting. It just looked like it hurt. Like, especially the offense that Roxanne Perez took, like that was so it just was like boom, 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 ow,
Mako
ow,
was
ow, ow.
unleashing.
Mako was really going at it, and it was interesting because like I did not expect when we were, when I was watching the match, what would come at the end of it, because like there's the match itself, which was powerful and amazing, but then there is the aftermath, which ended up being a whole story of its own, which I don't even want to get to that yet, because like I am curious, AJ, from your perspective, like what you thought of the match and just all of what you saw with the Mako Satomura and Roxanne Perez.
You showed me wrestling. Thank you. Yeah, no, it was a long match too. It wasn't like 2 minutes, let's get out kind of thing. It was a long match. It was very entertaining. I totally agree. There were certain parts that were very not clean. I thought I don't even blame the wrestlers for this. I blame the cameras. They were in the wrong angles for some of the stuff. Mako was pulling her kick. I mean, come on, she wasn't even making contact with some of those kicks. But that's because they're showing it this way instead of this way, which would have looked a lot better. And I thought they were a little sloppy on the top rope when Mako was standing on the top rope and like holding on to the turnbuckle, and that took a really long time to develop. Minor quibbles. I mean, it was entertaining. Didn't know who was going to win the entire way. It felt like when they left the ring, there was an intent to leave the ring. It wasn't to waste time. They went out, they attacked each other. The ref was actually counting when they were out of the ring, and they came back in within 10. It was like, it was an old school wrestling match, and I for one appreciated it. Listen, I've never seen these before. I don't know who was supposed to win, like who's the better. I gathered that we have the upcoming prodigy versus the veteran who's been here forever.
Right, exactly.
They mentioned that a lot. So in terms of that, I thought it was very entertaining, the match itself.
Yeah, this is basically like NXT's like youngest talent versus their oldest talent. Old is not a bad word.
No,
but
it isn't.
I would think so, because Mako Satomura has been wrestling for 30 years.
Yeah.
Roxanne Perez is 21 years old.
Yes. So. Roxanne Perez is 21. Mako Satomura is 43.
Oh wow.
And Mako Satomura is one of like the premier Japanese women's wrestlers who, like, when NXT and WWE signed her to like just we don't even know, like a short term contract, that it was like a big deal, and she's coming here to like work the girls. And I thought this was such an amazing match, and that strong style of Japanese wrestling is normally not employed here in the WWE. They try to protect their talent a lot. Mako was pulling her kicks in some of the places, but it's still meant to look hard hitting. A lot of that stuff looked hard hitting, and it made it look like Roxanne can take a lot of punishment, but she still escaped with her title. Like, she was able to get that roll up to escape with her title in a way. So it felt like Mako wasn't buried or anything like that. She wasn't, made to look weak by not beating a 21-year-old. And
the only thing that made her look weak was on the finishing flip. Like, she had to hold that pose for a little bit too long. Like, get off the rope, because other than that, you could tell, like, okay, this is the end, because she's waiting for the finishing move, and it's not there yet. There it is. Okay.
It was good. And then as Mako is raising Roxanne's arm after the ref is raising Roxanne's arm, she just collapses. People were like really scared. They're like, oh my God, is this real, for a minute? Like, it was kind of like she held out long enough to retain her title, and then her body just gave up on her. And it was minutes of them like loading her on the stretcher, them, injury angles. I'm very 50-50 on them. I don't like overly done injury angles. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're throwing up the X, where we're trying to use things that we know are not fake. Right. Yeah. We're bringing out the stretchers. We're bringing out the Shawn Michaels is putting the little oxygen mask on her. Booker T is getting up from the announce desk because she's one of his prodigies. Like, that overselling of the injury. Like, sometimes to me, I'm kind of like iffy about it because I work in the health sector, but I thought this was very, very powerful. What did you think about the injury angle afterwards, Matt?
Well, I mean, I thought like, and one of the things that jumped out, I mean, Shawn Michaels, you referenced, and he was involved, but this like was definitely a call back to, I want to say, like an episode of Raw in 1995, I believe, where Shawn Michaels was facing Owen Hart, and mid-match, like Shawn Michaels did the thing where he skinned the cat and like flipped back into the ring, and he's like, I'm feeling lightheaded, and then he fainted right in the ring. And what was interesting, because I went back and watched that clip, like Shawn Michaels like fainted almost exactly in the same spot of the ring that Roxanne and Perez is. Maybe it's like easier if you faint toward the side of the ring so that they could get you on the stretcher, but like it was like interesting because like back then, like Vince McMahon, who was I believe an announcer at the time, like came into the ring and he was like checking on Shawn. And it's like interesting because Shawn's was a lot more corny in my mind, even though it was, it was a different time. So it's corny in retrospect. But this was very much like, oh my gosh, everybody, like all hands on deck, where are you? So they were really like creating a sense of panic with this one, with all of the referees in the ring, I think yelling to the back, like, where's the stretcher? Let's get her out of here. Which, I hope if someone's like legitimately injured, that is not how they approach it, that they are subtle and less like panicking inducing. But I I appreciated this. I hear you, Mari, in terms of like the healthcare perspective, but I like this. It really showed like Roxanne put everything she has into the match and left it all on the field. And it's meant to tell that story. Where do they go from here? I don't know. I will also say, and Mari, I don't know if I'm assuming you saw this, but people were legitimately like, someone updated Roxanne's Google description to, they updated Roxanne's Google description basically to say that she actually died. So they're like, she is deceased, which
people play too much, and that's where
I don't even take that seriously. Like, I just laugh because I'm like, wrestling fans are so wild and often believe anything. But that was a thing that happened as a result of this. I saw that come up when I was like, why did Mari say to watch this match in particular, other than the fact that it was really amazing and had this distinct ending? So yeah, she's alive. She's alive and well, from what I understand. I checked myself. AJ, you okay? Are you alive and well?
I'm alive. Boy, did this leave a bad taste in my mouth. Just for so many reasons. For one, it was acted so poorly. It really was. I mean, again, camera work tells a lot of the story. She moved her arm. She was fine. She opened her eyes a couple of times. You could see. Has she responded? No, she hasn't responded. No. She has responded. We still haven't responded. There is no way, if this was a real situation, that they would allow someone who isn't an EMT to place an oxygen mask on her face.
Thank you.
Come on. And we've seen through all the clips that you showed me this week, you have two people being bludgeoned to death in the ring. There is not a referee in sight. This guy she fainted, and this referee was in that ring in 0.2 seconds. And then they start scolding Mako, like, no, get out of the way, get back. I'm like, come on. That's not your focus, is to make sure that the other wrestler is not in the shot. The thing that rubbed me the wrong way on this is, like, we saw Damar Hamlin. We saw this happen for real in a game. We also, this is how you know it's not real, because we also saw how long it took for them to actually get him off the field. Like, he is on that field for a half hour. Good, like they're checking this, they're checking that, they're checking this. It's too soon to do this storyline in the wake of that.
I didn't even think of that.
That's the first thing I thought of. It's just like, no. And again, it's the feeding of the conspiracy theories and the whole, it died suddenly, it's the vaccine. Like, I don't feed into this. This could have easily have been equally accomplished with Mako coming over to raise her hand and her like getting a little woozy and like falling into her arms, like, you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. And then they just go, oh my God, look at how much she left on the field. She needs to be helped off. She be helped out of the ring by Mako. Like that's the way to do it.
It was a lot.
It was too much. It was
a lot.
It was
It's
done
like
poorly, and just I was offended by it, to be honest.
And it's like, why would you do all of this unless, like, are you writing her off for a little bit? You know what I'm saying? Like, this feels like something you would write the champion off for a little bit.
I gotta say, you said really pay attention to this and everything, and there were like 3 or 4 moments during the match where I thought she broke her arm. Like just the way that her arm was bent back and everything. Like, oh, did she break her arm? Because I knew it must have been something big. Otherwise, why are we watching this kind of thing? And no, she didn't. But like, had she broken her arm, and you needed to excuse, like, this is a perfect, that's a perfect way to get her out for a couple weeks, like you said. But like, to what end? To what end was this?
Yeah, and I don't think. Let me just quickly search. But did you check, Matt? There's been no reports of like injury or anything.
She is 100% healthy, because I was looking for stuff on it, Mari, and there's literally nothing, because nothing happened. Like, Fightful Select didn't cover it and talk about it or address it at all. Like, it's just like people took the kayfabe of what happened and thought that something worse happened. Maybe because the match was so hard hitting, but also
and they want that's what they wanted.
Exactly.
I mean, I think
exactly.
which is another reason. Like sell your product, don't sell the controversy around your product. And they really, they didn't play any music. It was a silent arena. And the camera show her going to the ambulance, which again wouldn't happen. And what really annoyed me is they had that one fan going, "You'll be all right, Rox."
Oh no, backstage too. I think, and I don't know if that was I don't know if you're talking about a fan, because I'm sure that there's probably a lot of different fans.
It sounded like it was a fan coming from. There was like like they were right behind the overhang, and it sounded like it was someone like screaming from the overhang.
I know. I just assumed that was like maybe one of the other wrestlers. Like, you got this, Rox. You got this, even though you're dying. You got it.
Yeah, it just no, didn't work for me. Didn't work for me at all.
Yeah. So I think the only thing I can think of is they're just a way to excuse her not being on the stand and deliver card. That's the same day as WrestleMania.
I mean, we will see.
They technically don't have a storyline for her. They don't. This was a one-off match. Exactly. She's the champ that they.
That's a storyline. Oof.
She was the champ that they inadvertently had to put the title on, because they had to take it off the last champ because of the whole nude photos thing.
There's a whole thing.
So,
it's the whole thing.
It's a long story. But like, so she's had the belt for about 3 months now. And in that time period, she has not had a really solid feud storyline. She did have her and Corey Jade a little bit, but I don't know what happened with that. So she's been doing, this is a one-off match against a great that did what it needed to accomplish. The match it did, it needed what it needed to accomplish. They did this after portion here that I think this is just a way to write her off, so people aren't mad that there's no women's match on the stand and deliver card, to be quite honest. But we'll see. We'll keep everybody posted on that at the very least.
Sure. I guess so. If it's interesting, we'll keep.
If it's interesting, yeah. So that's it. AJ, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell the people where they can find you? Plug away.
Well, thank you for inviting me to be on. It was a fun time, and it was great to like revisit a guilty pleasure that I haven't visited in quite some time. So I'm not saying I'm tuning in next week, but I from time to if I flip through the channels, I might not, go past it as quickly.
Yeah. Just go and try to watch a whole episode or something. Like, unfortunately, the clips, WWE, they only do like 2 to 3 minute clips when stuff be 15 minutes. That's why I try and pull from other places.
Sure, no, absolutely. It was a joy. We're still in a little bit of hiatus from the Walking Dead universe, but that's going to be coming back at some point. It's inevitable. We've got Daryl Dixon to follow. We've got the New York Adventures of Maggie and Negan coming up, and we've got the Final Fear season. So we're going to be doing that on post show recaps with Josh and Jess Leese, and of course Chappelle. So we have a lot of fun covering the undead on that. And I've got my other little side project that I do called Felonious Pundits, Criminal Minds Rewatch, that I'm doing with my good friend Kentad Svensgaard. And if you ever watch the show, if you never watch the show, I go to bed every night and I need noise in the room. So my wife and I, we put on Criminal Minds, and it just runs on a loop every night. We don't even pay attention anymore because we've seen these episodes so many times. So I'm coming from that point of view. And this is Kentad's first run through the episodes. So we're getting the newbie and the grizzled veteran, as it were. So
that's
good
awesome.
times. Good times.
I'm a
grizzled young veteran. We love that. There we go. Mari, is this the part where I say what I'm supposed to be
I was just
doing?
gonna say, Matt, what you up to?
Well, I don't know. But one thing I'll say is that I just completed my last season of Pod Friends, which featured a number of people, including the one and only AJ Matt.
And don't say last season, say most recent season.
Well, you never know. Subscribe to the podcast, though. Subscribe to the podcast to keep it around. RHAPup.com/podfriends feed. Very fun conversations with the people who are on. Some folks are not only on the Wrestling RHAPup, but also just with the RHAP as a Podcast Network universe. So completed that. And mostly I've just been here doing the damn thing with Mari. But I will also say I will be on Mari's podcast, which I won't plug at all because she will plug it and talk about it, because I'm not sure what we're supposed to share and what we're not supposed to share. So what I'm going to do is say you could follow me at MattScottGW on social media, and you could also follow me wherever else Mari tells you to follow me. Mari, where can people find you?
Of course, every week here with you, Matt Scott, doing the Wrestling RHAPup. Yes. So go subscribe to the Wrestling RHAPup if you already haven't. Every Tuesday, me and Sarah Carradine bring True Crime Tuesdays to RHAP with the Crime Scene Podcast, a true crime review podcast. This week, we will have the great Matt Scott on to talk about Who Killed Robert Wan. It is a two-part docuseries on Peacock, and it's a doozy. I can't wait to talk to Matt and Sarah about this. I mean, talk about a roller coaster of emotions watching this property. So if you haven't, go and subscribe to the Crime Scene Podcast by going to robhasawebsite.com/crime feed. Yes, Matt.
By the way, let me just say, speaking of property, this is possibly the only example where multiple times I've walked by the property where this has occurred without even knowing that there was a situation, without knowing there was a murder. So
yes,
I'm going to do some on the ground.
For both of us.
Seriously.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's going to be so good. So go and subscribe so you don't miss it. I was just on with Taryn, Melissa, and the great Kevin Jacobs to recap the BB Canada 11 episode 2. So you can go and check that out on robhasawebsite.com. And then, of course, the We Got Y'all crew is on the Connect on post-show recap, where we are recapping Snowfall's final season. So we just recapped season 6, episode 4. Me, Latanya, and Chappelle break down everything you need to know about the final season of Snowfall. So you can go to postshowrecaps.com to follow us on there. And if you haven't, please follow the Connects feed. All of our shows like Insecure, Atlanta, Snowfall will be in that feed. And anything else that the three of us do will be found in that feed. So go and follow that feed as well. All right. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Mari Talks Too Much. That's 2, like the number 2. For anything else I'll be on, that's the place to do it. And you can follow me on Twitch now. I'm now going to be streaming on Twitch. You can go to twitch.tv/Mari Talks Too Much again to follow me on Twitch. Yes, like I said, I want to do some very experimental things, very experimental streams before I fall into a schedule. I'm gonna try and get Matt to come on with me, but you gotta go and follow to get notified for when I go live, because it will be random at first. It truly will be. So definitely go follow. Go to twitch.tv/Mari Talks Too Much. of course, like we said, make sure you're subscribed to the Wrestling RHAPup. You can follow us on Twitter at Wrestling RHAPup. That's at Wrestling RHAPUP on Twitter. You can send any long form emails to us at wrestling@robhasawebsite.com. Go subscribe to the Rob Has a Podcast YouTube page so you can also watch us on YouTube. And then finally, every day is a great day to become an RHAP patron over on patreon.com. I always get,
it's always,
so
there's so many links. I think it's like, I think there's like patreon.com/RHAP, but also robhasawebsite.com/Patreon.
Patreon. All of that. Go find us over there. This is the absolute perfect time to become a patron of Rob Has a Podcast because Survivor just started. Big Brother Canada just started. You get exclusive all access to exclusive podcasts, patron 5 for 5s, game nights, all of that good stuff. So go become a patron. Tell them that the Wrestling RHAPup sent you. And again, thank you for joining us. For me, Mascot, and AJ Mass. Thank you. Thank you. Remember, wrestling is for everybody, but not all wrestling is for everyone. Bye.
Throw 'em up, lay it down just like Matt and Mari. Wrestling liver HAPUp's gonna make it sorry. Feeling like The Rock cause I'm driving in Ferraris. And we coming every week and it's feeling like a party. Moolah Ric Flair, showing out like Bianca Belair, Best podcast, flush it in the air, From the rings and we win it, don't care, No cap. Throw 'em up, lay it down just like Matt and Mari. Wrestling liver HAPUp's gonna make it sorry. Feeling like The Rock cause I'm driving in Ferraris. And we coming every week and it's feeling like a party.